Good morning and welcome to our webinar on DPP and how to get data from a PIM system to a Kolla branded microsite and what that can look like. We're going to wait for about a minute or so before we get going proper, because it always takes a little bit of time for people to get into the system and log in. Webinar platforms have a habit of asking you for an extra button to press here and there. So we'll give everybody a little bit of a minute or so, and then we'll get going. So we'll talk very soon. In the meantime, if you're still with us, then you can have a look out the window wherever you are. And if you've got better weather than the rain that we're getting in Stockholm, then you can feel a little bit smug, and you can even write into the chat function and tell us how good you have it, because we don't have it that good right now in Stockholm. I'm an Irishman, and my brothers have been telling me how sunny it's been there for the last 3 weeks. So
in Ireland?
In Ireland, yeah. So they're getting all the good weather. So
you better put that in the calendar.
That's it.
Yeah, we also have a cloudy, rainy day here in Odense, Denmark. So we are no better off than you there in Stockholm. So
sounds good. Sounds good. So there you go. The perennial topic of weather.
Yes.
Now that we've talked about the weather for a minute, let's get going, guys. You're very welcome to this. You're very welcome to this webinar, where we're going to look at digital product passports in particular, but also how that data flows from a PIM system all the way through to the end result on your mobile phone. And we're going to have an example to show you there as well, but we're also going to show you how the Struct PIM system works and how that works together with Kolla's branded platform, microsite branded platform. And then we're going to talk to yourself as well, Madeleine Engholm, about how to put it all together into one thing. So the goal today is really to show that flow of data, but just to give everybody a quick 1-minute recap on what is digital product passports. If you've logged in and you're watching this, then you probably already know, but just for the sake of argument, DPP, or the digital product passports, has arisen because of the European Green Deal back in 2019. And that's, of course, about making Europe more environmentally friendly and have net zero emissions effectively. Within that, there's a CEAP, a Circular Economy Action Plan, a way of making Europe reuse everything again and again and again, create a circular economy. And after the Circular Economy Action Plan, within that, we've got something called the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, ESPR. That's a mouthful in itself. But it's within that we have DPP, or digital product passports. And the idea of the digital product passport is, of course, to extend the lifetime of products, but also to give consumers a transparent knowledge on the sustainability criteria or credentials of the product they're about to buy, so that they can make informed choices. And that's where it all comes from. There are a few challenges with this. And one of those big challenges is the fact that the EU hasn't told us yet exactly what should be in every digital product passport. So we know that, or we're assuming that people will want to know what the CO2 emissions are of their product. They're going to want to know where the raw materials have come from, what kind of raw materials are being used. But there's also information about care and repair. How do I look after my product? But also, how can I resell or reuse my product? And then how would I dispose of the product at the end of life? So all of these aspects are all part of DPP that we know of, but the EU, as I said, is setting those criteria, which means that we're all slightly in limbo, waiting to see what exactly the details will be. However, the timing is coming up, and by 2027, we already know that the textiles industry is supposed to have its first digital product passports out, and the furniture industry, I believe it is as well. So we need to get moving, whether we like it or not. And that's why we're here. So the question then will be, how do you go about that? And then this is where we have a slide that we can put up, and I can show you, because what we've talked about generally is that there are 3 main things to think about. And the very first one is gathering data. And this can be a headache for many of you, because it's about doing life cycle assessments on your products and understanding the entire supply chain and the emissions related to your product through its entire life cycle. So there's a job to be done there. Now, what we have seen, at least at Kolla, when we've spoken to brands, is that quite a few brands have a lot of that data already. So it's about finding where is that data and where do you have that data? Because a lot of people actually have done quite a bit of work already there. If you haven't, you need to get going. If you have, you need to find out where that data is. So that's part 1, gathering the data. Part 2 then is managing that data, because what we're seeing is also that this data is sometimes in different systems. Now, we believe that PIM systems, product information management systems, will probably be the core of any future digital product passport, but they're not necessarily the only system that people will be using. They'll be using maybe PLM systems and ERP systems, and these might have complementary information, but we do feel that the PIM is probably going to be at the core of this. either way, you're going to have to manage this data in a clever and a smart way, particularly as you do new generations of the products that you're selling, and this becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's an important aspect. The third part, which is also important, is communicating the data. And this one is kind of been left behind in a lot of the discussions and webinars about DPP, because when you're communicating this data, we at Kolla, and this is where we come in, so this is an area that's particularly close to my heart with a background in branding and marketing, is that when we've spoken to branders and marketing people about digital product passports, first, they're not aware of it at all. But second, they all get very excited about it because you're creating a brand new communications touch point for your customer. So your consumer, if they scan a code, it means they're very interested in your product. They want to know more. So you have an opportunity to do something special. You don't have to necessarily just comply with the EU regulations, which you have to do, but you can do more. So if we look at the next slide, this is sort of an example to show that you can make every microsite a brand experience. So make that digital product passport actually an experience that feels good. So we have the one in the middle right now, it's almost a digital product passport. It's for the soda industry. It's live right now. They don't have to do digital product passports, but they wanted to do a microsite that showed what they're doing when it comes to sustainability, but also to explain what's in their product and how they make it, because they're doing a really nice organic soda. This company, Thirst, they're a Swedish-based company. But the other ones there also show you what can be done. You can make your digital product passport look really good and create an experience for the consumer. So for us, this is a really important aspect to what you should think about when you start looking at it. So you're gathering that data, you've got to manage it in a clever way, but then you got to communicate it. And here you have a real opportunity. And if you do this right, this can lead also to conversion. And we're going to show you an example with the Swedish Scout Association, where we've done a pilot project. And just with the Scouts, what's interesting is that there's one aspect, which is their second-hand market. And actually, it's almost live, the second-hand aspect with this. But if you scan this code right now, it's good actually to have a look at it, because we're going to be doing an example with Struct. We've imported the data that we've used with the Scouts into the Struct PIM system for the sake of argument, and done a proof of concept here. So you're going to be able to see what does this digital product passport look like. If you scan the code, you'll get an experience of what it could feel like. And here we've taken data directly from the PIM system, and it automatically updates into the Kolla microsite when we make a change. So you're going to see that later. So if you scan the code, open up the microsite, keep it open for the webinar, because later on we're going to be going back to it, and Per from Struct is going to change some data in the PIM system, and then we're going to see how that flows and how it changes in the actual microsite. So that's where we are from there. And actually, at this point, I'll stop rabbiting on, and I'm going to pass on to Per, who's going to show us Struct, but also then show us this example. Per, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Colm. If I should just say a couple of words about Struct for those who might not know us. We are a Danish software company. We were founded back in 2015, and we have built the PIM, which is aptly called Struct PIM, which is up to its fourth version right now. So some might ask, what is a PIM system? And PIM systems are really intended to be the single source of truth for product information in a company. And it's, as you said, Colm, gathering all the data and having those data centralized in some form. So no employee in the company has any doubt on where that product data can be found. So the job of a PIM is really to enable that consolidation of the product data. And this is typically occurs through data gathering from other systems, ERP, PLM, supplier data, or companies often have Excel sheets with product data shared here and there, and those data should be gathered and centralized in the PIM. The next job then becomes, okay, how do we then manage that data? And PIM systems typically do that through a set of user-friendly and efficient tools that enable users to easily work with the data and handle data governance as well. And finally, once you have that data, you can then enrich it with data for product information for other sales channels. So it could be Kolla. It doesn't necessarily need to end there. It can be the web shop. It can be Google Shopping, Amazon, whatever you want to communicate around your data. You can handle that in the PIM system. At Struct, we do all these things. We have a very high degree of focus on usability, for one, because we believe it increases the efficiency of the user, and it makes it easy to onboard new users as well. Flexibility is really important as well, since this is a standard system. It needs to be able to handle any type of product, any type of client, no matter what industry and no matter what kind of product complexity they have. And then, of course, scalability as well, that some clients have very few products, some have in the millions, and the PIM should be able to handle that. Here at Struct, we see there's a strategic need to focus on two areas in the coming years, one of them being AI, all the new tools, possibilities, efficiency increases that brings, and then today's topic, which is sustainability, including the digital product passport. And as you said, Colin, the digital product passport is much more than just that one thing. Sustainability covers a lot more, and modern customers are much more focused on sustainability in the product and manufacturing and so on, and companies that can leverage that, they stand to gain quite a lot. So that's where we're at here at Struct. But let's take a look at the Kolla platform and the PIM platform here. So let me just switch between the slides here. So for those of you following along at home, hopefully you have opened the microsite here as well. And here we see the microsite for the scouts here. We can see we have a product image up here. We have a product text here describing this model here, and then we have some various information here. So we have, of course, the digital product passport here, where we again can see the image, and then we have all this information which are we expect to be required at some point. So raw materials, where the product has been produced, what kind of energy is used as well, and also the various certifications and so on that the product has. We can also see that we have information around what's the word, washing instructions on the product. So we can see here that the product needs to be handled in a certain way, so that we can so the users know how to use and handle their clothing here. So let's take a look at how that might also look in Struct PIM, how Struct supports these various channels, one of them being the Scout platform here. Now, the first thing that we see when we log into Struct PIM here is the dashboard, and this dashboard really is the cockpit for the users when they log in. Here they can see an overview of all the data that is important to them, or most importantly, all the missing data that their products has. So they can follow along, see what kind of issues do my products have. We can see here we have products that are missing enrichment, that are missing images, that are missing, most importantly, data for the digital product passport. We can also follow along if we are using the workflow system and the task management system and so on in PIM. We won't be talking too much about these today, but this cockpit really allows users to have this overview when they log in, and they can easily figure out what they need to do. So one of the biggest challenges when faced with large amounts of products and product data is figuring out where the gaps in those data are, and the dashboard is helping to highlight those areas. This being a DPP webinar, let's take a look at the products in our system that do not have information about the digital product passport. And we can do that by simply clicking, as I mentioned before here, this missing digital product passport. And we can then see, if we just do a small search here, we have a little bit more limited set of data here. We can see we have some information about this product here, and we can click on this Swiss Army knife here, which is Scout branded, and we can then see that yes, we have some very rudimentary information around the product here. We can see the workflow status. It's currently being enriched. We haven't published it to any of our sales channels or said that we wanted it to be displayed on the web shop. And we only have just a few information, name and model number and so on. So in Struct PIM here, we've actually configured the system to monitor the various areas and sales channels that this product is used in. And we can see here that we're tracking it with these completeness rules here. We call them enrichment insights in Struct PIM. but they are basically tracking, whether the product has basic information. Is the product ready for use in the digital product passport? And we can see here it says 0%, so that's not really that good. But more than that, we're also tracking, do we have this product ready for our Danish web shop? So in addition to the digital product passport, we have these other sales channels that we also need to monitor. So this really allows users to be able to quickly get an overview of, yes, I have data which is missing on these products here, and I need to do something about them. So it seems like we have our work cut out for us on these products here, and this is of course where the management tools I mentioned earlier, they come into play. So we have a number of functionalities in PIM that can assist with enrichment of products, and this includes mass updating functions, import-export tools. We also have AI text generation and translation as well, and some automations that can automate enrichment of products as well. It's a little bit out of scope for this short time slot we have here today, but if someone is interested in seeing a demo of this, feel free to reach out to us. I think we should take a look at a product that has more information and that has also been published in Kolla. So we can do that in a number of ways. We can of course use our search functionality and do a search and locate the products here. We can also use our navigation. So we can see we have a navigation here where we have the various product categories which correspond with the data that is available in the web shop. And we can of course also just go back to the dashboard and see, yes, we have a number of products that are already released, and we can quite easily go to this particular Scout shirt here, which is the shirt that we also saw in Kolla before. So now we are looking at a product here. We can see we have a product that has been released. It's displayed on the web shop, or Kolla in this case here, and it's available on the Swedish sales channel. So what we've done here is we've taken the Scout data, and I should say we don't have the Scouts as a Struct PIM client. This is a data set that we've built so that Kolla can build their integration. But we've taken the data that is available on their web shop, and we've put that into Struct PIM, and that allows us to get an overview of what data fields should be used and where are products missing data. So of course we have the name, model number, and brand, and so on around the product here. We have various delivery information and so on that we can store around the products as well. If we need to handle the package size and calculate the volume and so on, we can do that as well. Marketing is fairly important as well. We need to market our products across various channels, and of course we don't use all of these information here in Kolla. We're using the short description here, but we can use the unique selling points. So we can use whether the product is on offer, and the long description on websites and so on around that as well. We can of course handle media and downloads as well. We see some examples of that here. So the product has a primary image, it has additional product images and so on, and various forms of video documentation and all that stuff is available as well, along with product relations. So related products, accessories, and so on is also something that can be handled in Struct PIM. So these are very typical types of data that a PIM system is expected to be able to handle for various clients. But we also have here some technical specifications, and they can often be quite different. And Colm, you had some examples here previously where you had some headphones, for example. They have, they need to have information around battery life, active noise cancelling, whereas the soda example has different types of technical specifications. So they would have, what ingredients is in there, what is the taste, what is the color, and stuff like that. And I believe you had a paint example as well, where it might be, color code and waste handling and so on. So this really is depending on what type of product you're looking at, the data would look vastly different here. So for this shirt here, of course, we have the wash guide, so we can have all the information around how the product should be handled, and most importantly, of course, as well, the digital product passport information. Now, as you said, Colm, we don't really know exactly what data that we are expected to be able to handle. I believe at the moment we're at around 15, 16 data points that needs to be handled by 2027, and more is expected to follow after that. So this is a small section of those data. So of course, raw materials, country of origin, production country, and so on. All of these information can be handled in the system as well, including the certifications. And regarding the certifications, of course, here we have added the certification itself, but we're actually also handling the text and the logo as part of this data here. So all that data can be stored in the PIM and then made available outside of the PIM in whatever sales channel you want to handle it. But as Colm said, let's try and make a change here in Struct PIM and see how that is updated in Kolla. So we have various methods of speaking with the outside world. I don't want to get too technical, but for those that know it, we do have an API. We have a webhook system as well, and we support the Azure Service Bus as well. So whenever a change is made in the Struct PIM, we can send that along. We've, in this example here, used the webhooks, or Kolla has used the webhooks to be notified when changes happen in Struct PIM. So let's make a change here and then say, all right, this primary image that we have here, we're not too satisfied with that. We want to have a model shot of that instead. So we can, of course, either just upload it from our hard drives. We can also use the built-in media archive that we have here in Struct PIM, and we can go in and see all the various images. We can, of course, navigate it as I've done now. We can also use the search, but I know that we have the very nice model shot here of this shirt. So we will select the image and click submit. And we can see now we have updated the image here. And once I click save here, it should just be a few moments. So the products were saved here. And if I then go to the microsite here and click on, I don't know if I just need to update or...
Just to refresh, yeah.
No, I need to go to the digital product passport. So something is happening. So this is what happens when you do live demos, right?
I would just try a refresh completely there, Per, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I might need to do that.
Hasn't changed. Or go back to the original. Isn't it the original shot? I think you changed the primary image. So if you go to the first page.
This one, we'll update that one. Here we go. All right, so there we go. All right, so a couple of moments, and then it is updated on Kolla. And this, of course, goes for all the various information. So I feel like that was on me. That's not on the system. Probably just should have had a little bit more patience here. But yeah, if we should just sum up here, so Struct PIM can handle various product data for multiple types of channels and for various purposes. And as you can see here, we can update the data and have it refresh on the sales channels in a very short period of time. So that's what I had for you today here. So I'll send it back to you, Colm, for you had some more information about the Kolla platform as well.
Yeah, just a couple of slides I thought we could show, and I'll do it fairly quick because I want to talk to yourself, Madeleine, and we want to have time for that. If you can go back to that presentation, if you have a chance, Per, then we can put it up. I could just say a little bit about the background of Kolla. Kolla started life, as a microsite platform, a platform connected to QR codes, and its origin was really the idea that we all get frustrated when something doesn't work at home. If the dishwasher is broken and you don't know, you get an error code and you don't know what it is, and you're trying to figure out what model you have. Imagine there was a QR code that gave you that information, about that particular model or that product you have. And then we saw that this obviously could apply quite well to digital product passports, and we've now adapted it. So if you look at this image here, this is what it would look like. If you had only 5 or 6 microsites, this is what your organizer would look like. And then if we look at the next slide, we can go fairly quickly through these. So this is when if you were to build a microsite on your own, this is what it looks like. And it's a very simple kind of drag and drop setup where you drag in text blocks or video blocks or image blocks. And then if we go into the next slide, I can say, what we've really done is now that we've found a way of creating something called dynamic data blocks, where we take the information from the PIM system or any other database for that matter and put it into one of those blocks in the microsite builder. So if we hop in even to the next slide, then you can you can see this example that you might have a main microsite page and a sub page on that, where some of the information will be dynamic. Then it'll be taken directly from the PIM system, and as that changes, as we saw with the Scout shirt, it will change in the microsite. But there could be other information that's static, or there could be just a button that links to a home page. And this is exactly what you'll see here then with the Scout shirt. So the image is obviously dynamic data, as we've seen that example, but also the text that comes below is dynamic, whereas there's an external link. And actually there's one called secondhand. So if you've got that open, you'll see secondhand doesn't work just yet, and it will in about a week. That will work. And what's really interesting there is that the Scouts are selling shirts secondhand. Obviously, your Scout grows up, your child grows up, gets too big for the shirt, and they want to sell it on. And now with the company called Revive Retail, they have a platform already, the Swedish Scout Association, which is really good for reselling then those shirts. And we'll link that in from this digital product passport as well. And that really gets that whole circular economy idea going. So the Scouts already have the Revive Retail platform, and then we'll link into it from the digital product passport. So it's a really good company, that Revive Retail, what they're doing. And it's nice that we will be able to link straight into that. Madeline, yes. For this whole time, you've been here wondering, who's this lady beside me? So because you're kind of the glue of all of this. So explain maybe about Cypoint Inspire and how you guys come into the picture.
Yeah, well, as you can see, you have a picture here. This is us. We do PIM and e-commerce. Sorry. And in this situation, I have talking about GPP since it was a couple of years ago. About 3 years ago, it started to be a rumor, and now it's really in the topic for everyone. So I realized quickly that the PIM systems that we deliver will be in focus of that. Like you said, it will be mainly the PIM systems that will store this data, but also, as you also said, ERP systems and PLM systems. But in this situation, you can also see that GPP is not only a lot of work and a lot of boring work, finding data and storing and finding the gaps. This means that it's also a competition and an advantage for those who entered it first. And you can, with your solution, also show that it can be a sales opportunity as well.
For sure.
So that's why I thought that this is a perfect match. The Struct PIM is also a very competent PIM system, so why not join you together?
Absolutely.
So
it's Madeline that's brought us all together, and it's Madeline that does this. And if you look at the company, I mean, you guys are putting all those pieces to the puzzle together.
Yes,
so you're at a good place to start if you're thinking about a digital product passport.
I would say so.
Yeah,
I would say so.
Which was kind of my next question. Where do you start? So maybe it's calling you, Madeline. But I mean, let's think of it on a wider scale. Where do you go about if you're going to start on this project of digital product passports, which you need to?
Yeah, I did a slide on that one. Mm-hmm. Well, as you said earlier, start finding the data, because many companies do have them, but where are they? Mm-hmm. And of course, also make it the responsibility for the whole company, just not for the sustainability department or maybe the CEO, but make it a responsibility for the whole company. But I also think that you need to have a project group for this. And also do a pilot. When you do GPP, I don't think you should aim for all the products that you have. Do a pilot and do it on the maybe the best selling product or maybe the easiest one that are maybe not so complicated. So do a pilot. And also involve all the suppliers that you have, or subcontractors and stuff like that. And if you have the possibility, lean on a standardized data model like GS1. There are several for several industries. Yep. So lean on a standard if you can. And also document and highlight the gaps, because there is where you need to spend the most of the time minding the gaps. Yeah. And as you introduce a PIM system as well, I say keep it simple, stupid. Don't overdo it.
Yeah, I guess that must be a risk of just making
Yes.
it too complicated too quickly.
Yes, and you will go far away from the core.
So test with the simplest products and try to keep it simple to start with, and then build from there. Does everybody need a PIM system?
Eventually, I would say yes. Yes, because this will be a lot of data that must be stored. And the PIM systems are designed to communicate. And that's not what an ERP system do. That is not what the PLM system do, or the new systems that I'm sure will occur in this industry now. Sorry.
Yeah. If I don't have a PIM system today, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I need to look at this. Like, what should I be looking at, or are there any like big mistakes that I could make?
Yeah, well, the list before is well, on the contrary, it's that one. But start benchmarking the market for good PIM systems. Struct PIM is an extremely good example of a good PIM with a good interface for the users. So involve the users, but also I would give you a good advice. Find a good partner that do know PIM systems.
Yeah. But just to let you know, you can write some questions into the chat if you want, because we'll go to a Q&A very shortly. So if you have any questions now, and I know one or two have already been written in, so please fire ahead on that. One more question to you was the traceability question, because this is coming up a lot in DPP discussions, because one thing with the digital product passport as well, is we need to be able to trace all the way back through the supply chain.
Yes.
And this is a challenge. And so
this is a challenge.
I'm glad you're here to tell us how to solve this.
I don't think the industry has the full answer on that one, but I think standardized data models is one key. So if you have like GS1, Valido, stuff like that, you can come a long way with it. So the short answer is try to standardize, and also try to make the tech systems that you need to have, PIM for example, to be able to be updated by your suppliers in a very structured way. So tech will be a really important part of this. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. I think the standards is interesting, because also with the QR codes that we make at Kolla, we're following the links are following the GS1 digital link standard. For that reason, just to be sort of future-proof, to be able to start tracing back.
And different industries has different standards. So go out there and check. And also, there will be products that will not be under this law. So check if your products really apply.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madeleine. Really, really good. We've tried to keep this to a half an hour, and we've pretty much succeeded, but we wanted to open this up also for questions. So if you have any questions, you can write them into the chat. And I saw there was a question earlier on. At some point, I saw some question about data points, but I don't see it. Oh, wait a second. Hang on. Here we have it there. Do those data points vary depending on the product? So I think maybe you answered this one, Per. It was when you were, when you were showing the Struct PIM and the different data points, and I think they do, is what you were saying, that they will vary depending on what product you have.
Yeah. When you have products in Struct PIM, you can have multiple product types, and for each of those product types, you define what fields are relevant for that particular product. So when a user is editing that product, what they see is only the data that is relevant for that. So that includes the fields that needs to be enriched, and it of course also includes the enrichment insights, the completeness rules that we have. So the completeness rules are completely unique for that particular product you're looking at. So you can configure, let's say, a certain need that you have. So the digital product passport, for example, or a web shop, and of course the data that is relevant for that product in the web shop is a part of that particular data point as well. So yes, that's a yes on that question.
Because I'm thinking also, when it comes to digital product passports, the fact that we don't know all the information yet as to what will be required. We know that, presumably new data fields will have to be introduced. And I think this is maybe the joy of a PIM system, where you can start adding in that, like a data field, when we now know that actually they want to know about the expected lifespan of the product. Let's just say that becomes a point that the EU wants to put on every product, that you'll be able to quite easily then add that in to a PIM system, and then we can have that information flow on into Kolla or similar.
Yeah, that's right. The PIM system is really designed to make it easy to add new fields to it, because as you said, we don't know what fancy ideas the EU gets along the way, or even a business evolves over time. We know that they might have new product types, new markets to cover. So the PIM needs to be able to easily handle all those new data fields, and we can do that in Struct PIM. We have a completely no-code approach to that, so users can add fields in the system without using developers on that.
Yeah. We have a question from Mikael Nielsen, which says, will the QR code need to be on an individual level or product or batch level? And that's a multi-million-dollar question there, Mikael. That's what people are asking about that. And again, the EU hasn't set yet what it's going to be. So right now there's a lot of speculation, and I think the idea of following like GS1 standards means that you're future-proofing yourself to have it to be available on the individual level.
Yes.
But I think we would guess, or I would believe, that we're going to start at least on the product or batch level. I can't see it going to the individual level, certainly to start with. And I think there's a lot of other issues, that knock-on issues, when you start going down to the individual level, because you're talking about billions upon billions of QR codes and microsites and a huge amount of data potentially that you need to.
But also the batch level already is a big challenge, because during the shipment, the batches can change. So that's something that EU already has discovered, that, whoa, that was something that you from the beginning thought would be, well, permanent from the start until the
But explain that. Explain how it changes. A batch will change in transport.
Yeah, because during the transport, stuff can happen, and half the batch should go to one customer, and the other half is divided and go to several others. So it's one batch from the origin and ends up in like 5 batches. And how do you manage that?
Okay, in other words, it gets developed further from another supplier in its addition,
exactly.
and then it becomes something new. And where do you start the digital product passport from? Then?
Exactly.
There you go.
That will be a challenge as well. And as you mentioned here, since the PIM products are very easy to update, so start finding the data now and put it in, because everything will change for a couple of years more.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's probably the only thing we can say that's certain. I think if we looked at with GDPR or similar rulings that have come in, things will develop and become presumably more stringent with time. But we also, I would guess as well, that the EU will have a certain leniency so that things can actually start happening and we can get going and come out with these digital product passports. Because I think, because also, I mean, the essence, the idea again is to create a more sustainable Europe. So they're not going to try to hold us back. They're going to try to speed things along. But there's a lot that needs to be done. How do you deal with the languages issue, as digital product passports will need to be available in the native tongue of every European? So that's right. So the microsites or whatever, when you scan that code, it has to be, according to the EU, in your native tongue. And I think, Per, you mentioned it earlier on that you have a languages facility, and I'll give you a minute there, but I'll just say that Kolla also has this. We have an AI tool within Kolla, which means that it automatically translates our microsites into the native language of the mobile phone user. So if you have Czech as your mother tongue and your mobile phone is in Czech, then when you scan that QR code, you'll get it in the Czech language. Which is so that's actually thankfully an easy one. But you have something very similar as well, Per, I think, in Struct.
Yeah, in Struct you can manage multiple languages across your various products, and of course it's a little bit more controlled in Struct PIM, because you decide which languages you want to support, and then you can use you can use a translation agency, you can do the translation yourselves, you can use our AI tool to do the translations, and then have that stored in the PIM for all the various sales channels. And then on top of that, we have Kolla, where which is a channel where you also have translation purposes. So you can further translate the data from there for languages that might not be added into the PIM system. So it really depends on the situation and the client. How much data do you want to store in your PIM around these product data or these language data, and those that you do not want to share, you can further use AI to translate those outside the system.
I'm going to go back up then over. There's one final question that's come in, and a tricky one. And that's what happens if you use a product when it's at the end of its life for a totally new purpose. For example, recycling metals and plastics. So what happens to a product? You've got a digital product passport for it. It's reached its end of life, but now we're going to reuse it for something else. So this could be, it's a kind of a either downcycling, I guess. And what happens there? And I don't have a 100% answer for you there, but from what I understand is that information, in other words, the information that we're seeing in these Kolla microsites won't necessarily be the same information that a recycler will see. So a recycler will want to know what materials are coming in if they're taking something in at the end of life and wanting to reuse those metals and plastics. They're going to need to know, again, this is about understanding the whole supply chain. They're going to want to know what sort of quantities of materials are in there and how to deal with them. But that at that point, from what I understand, and we're not 100%, is that digital product passport then ends, but we know about the materials, and it's how those materials get tracked, we don't know. So it's a really good question. So we're not answering yet another question. Look, with that, I think we should wrap it up. It's nearly coming up to 9:45. You're more than welcome to get in touch with any of us, myself, with Madeline, with Per, if you have any questions. And if you get in touch with me, but it's a PIM question, I'll direct you on to PIM, or vice versa, or to yourself, Madeline. We're really interested in helping you guys get going, and particularly from a Kolla side, seeing the marketing opportunities with it, but also knowing that it's good to have a good database of information somewhere like a PIM system, and then to have somebody like yourselves, Madeline, to actually guide you in the right direction. So, with that, you get all pieces of the puzzle together. And with that, we'll say thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you again at our next webcast, whenever that will be, presumably sometime after the summer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.